Okay, that should have fixed all the errors that I was having. So I'll try recording a little snippet again, and if it doesn't work, then I'll probably scream. This is a homage to my image viewer, in the spirit of the new Funnel Project Next Generation. And what I'll do is I'll show you the actual thing working, then I'll go through the code. Now, it's kind of, I've had to substitute a few of the features I wanted to get things working, but I can always go back and add those again later on. One of those choices. Right then. First of all, it uses a version of my smooth scroller, so that you can scroll through with a little jump at the end, and that will work everything. Which I was quite impressed about because I really like that feature, and I might do an evaluation on it as well. What it does is it loads an image and it resizes the image to fit inside the square, using the top left registration point. If you click on that, a very rare picture will pop up, and it centers the picture that loads up as well. So very simply, it's a move and a click. I'm not sure where it moves when you click those. That's probably a feature that I was working on. That's probably gone wrong. I was trying to work on putting it into a for statement, as you'll see in a second. Basically, I'll show you the ActionScript layer first. This was the for statement. I'm basically working on it to make it load images in every section. So the second image does have an image loaded there, it just doesn't exist yet. It's a shame, I know, but I wanted to look at how to do that function there for the JPEGs. What it does is it, first of all, sets the image underscore movie clip to the selected thumbnail. Basically, that's the layer that it's working with, so that when it loads the movie, it knows which area to load the movie from. In this case, it loads it into image from movie clip. It's based relative to this particular timeline, which is why everything's in one area. It then runs a function which loads the image's size and shape, because if you try and just load the size and shape straight after the load movie, it refuses to work. It needs to have that gap there. So we give it the gap with a function, and then it checks the width of the thing. As long as it's got a width, it will count it as working and carries on through the process. What it does is it deletes the on into frame, so it'll only run this once. If you don't have that there, then it tends to just run it constantly and keep moving, much like my smooth scroller does, but it just doesn't stop. It then sets the thumbnail height to 44, the width to 43, and then it works out the scale that it's been scaled down from. And for this section, I've liked it to use the maximum scale. So it works out which one of the items has got the max scale, and uses that scale for both of them, which means that you do end up having a length or a width that's the wrong height for the square. But what this does is it means that, for example, with this one, it'd be actually down there where it finished on the bottom, but it's the right width. So with the layer mask on, of course, unturn it off, you can see that a layer mask is the same size as the actual image, slightly smaller though. So that, I'll lock them again. So if you just lock those again, you can see that the actual image itself is slightly smaller. This means it just crops it a little bit. And that's the code for making the thumbnail appear. Now to make the larger image appear on press, it's virtually the same, but this time we split it up into an on-press if statement, so that it knows if the selected image has been selected. If this is the image that's already selected, do nothing. And what it does is, once it's run the function once, selected image is turned on. Basically, it's my version of yes/no switches. Again, it sets the content root for which image it's supposed to be dealing with. Now, because it's the layer above, I found it, or a couple of layers above, I found it easier to just use a direct root reference. to load this, and then it loads the movie image 1, which again will be put into an XML variable rather than having this. And then it runs image weight, because again you can't have image weight in the same, you can't have the actual resizing options in the same area as a load movie. So it runs the image weight function, which runs this, and it basically runs it once, it's an on-into frame, then it deletes the on-into frame. And it checks the width, sets the height and the width, but then with the scale this time it works on the minimum. So it'll make sure that it's always going to fit inside my restraint sizes regardless. Sometimes it might be not as high or not as wide, but it'll always fit inside my virtual square. And then it sets the x coordinates and the y coordinates. Now my x coordinates I've tried to center it, which is quite confusing because I wasn't sure how it was going to do it properly. And I think that I don't need this 10 here as long as I change this to height. Which is what I'm going to play around with now. And once that's done, it's a case of making it all work dynamically through XML, through one XML list for the groups. Once that works, it's a case of making these squares appear and disappear based on how many images are there. So if you've got one image, you'll only have one image there. The other 24 black images won't be there. And then the arrows will disappear as well. I shall post it on the movie once that's been sorted out.